Hello and welcome to another video. I'm Maz and today I'm in Gloucester. And in today's video I'll be trying out this Jaguar F-Type V6 convertible. But this is no ordinary Jaguar F-Type V6 convertible. This particular car has 1, 2, 3 pedals, which means this is a very rare manual example. A huge thank you to Paul for lending me his car. And if you are a Jaguar owner and you would like a car featured on the channel, feel free to reach out. Now, if you want the full overview for the Jaguar F-Type, click on the top right hand corner of the screen or in the link in the description down below. In this video we're just going to focus on the manual V6. And the manual V6 was introduced around 2015-2016 when the Phase 1 got its mini facelift with the slightly updated infotainment system and round fonts for the dials. And you can only get the manual with a V6, which means all the 2 litres and all the 5 litres, from factory at least, are all automatic. So if you want a manual F-Type, you have to make do with 6 cylinders. And this particular car has been modified, and here are all the modifications that's been done to this car. Luckily, these mods will not affect the review, as this review will be exclusively for the manual gearbox. And the manual in the F-Type was only available on Phase 1s and the later Phase 2. Unfortunately, the manual has been dropped for the Phase 3 facelift from 2020 onwards, and there are very few manuals on the market. So here is the front of this particular Jaguar F-Type, and as you can tell, this is a Phase 1 car with its bi-xenon headlights and its double intakes on the side. I really like this particular number plate, F2YPE, and already the manual F-Type is rare, but a manual F-Type S is even rarer. So with the Phase 1 cars, if it doesn't have the S badge, it's a 340. If it does, it's a 380. Things are different on the Phase 2. And this particular car has the Maxton front splitter. Coming around, one thing I forgot to mention, this particular car has a Union Jack on the bonnet. It's got bowler wheels with some aftermarket brakes and red calipers. This particular car is in Carpathian grey. Here's what the side profile looks like. Once again, there's a separate review for the convertible if you want to see the full overview for that. And one thing the owner told me is that if I open the door with the convertibles, the outline of the window is meant to mimic the tail fin of a Spitfire. Coming to the back, once again the Maxton kit continues, and this particular car has aftermarket tailpipes from Raptor. Coming inside, being a Phase 1, so this car has gloss black here and silver here. If this were to be a Phase 2, either all of this will be in gloss black or satin plastic with this finish on the bezel. Strangely though, this car has red stitching on the armrest but black stitching on top. At least this particular car does have extended leather. And one bonus thing I learned from the owner, this little section here is for you to put your fingers in to close the door, like so, without leaving any fingerprint on the paint. Being an S, it has the S kick plate, and if you want to see a video on these mats that I have in my car, click on the top right hand corner of the screen or in the link in the description down below. Coming inside, surprise surprise, it is 95% identical to all the other F-Types that I've driven. So, for starters, this particular car does not have the sports steering wheel. Normally the sports steering wheel will have thumb bolsters here on 10 and 2. Even though this is an S, there's no S badge here. And this blank switch means there's no heated steering wheel. And because this is an early car, this button is always blank, because on the later F-Type, so on the Phase 2.5, this would have been the voice button, only available on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. This particular car has the performance seats, which are quite well bolstered, though I do think the Phase 2 are thinner and the bolsters are a lot deeper. But that being said, I still think these look very nice, and me personally, I don't see much difference. This particular car has its wind deflector on, and because it's a convertible, you've got this storage cubby here. However, facelifted cars will have a net instead. Also unique to the manual is this armrest here, which drops down ever so slightly, along with the cup holders being exposed. If this were to be an auto, this would all be flat and the cup holders would have a cover. Storage cubby inside is unchanged. So here's the 6-speeder. With reverse, you have to really push to the left to activate. I've driven another manual JLR, a Disco Sport. On that one, you lift a ring here to go into reverse, which is far less cumbersome to do so. Of course, it's a convertible, so this switch is here. On coupes, this is blanked out. And normally there's a toggle switch here on automatics if you want to be in dynamic or all-weather mode. But in this, you just get two buttons here, and then which in the auto would have been auto stop start and rear wing, which have now been relocated over here. Same with the exhaust button and the traction control. 12-volt socket is unchanged. What is changed is the volume dial, which is in the center, which I actually prefer, because on the auto it's down here and it makes the center console look too asymmetric. I feel like they should have put a rocker switch or a barrel on the auto for the volume dial. Turn on the ignition. Again, the screen is more or less unchanged. Once again, nothing to report, though this particular car does have dynamic eye and ambient lighting, which you get 5 different colors to choose from and 4 different brightness levels. And me personally, I would prefer the pedals to be brushed aluminium, which I know is available on the autos, but I'm not sure if they're available on the manuals. So that's the exterior and interior done now, so let's see what this car is like to drive. So foot on the clutch, press the start button, and this particular car has a valved exhaust system, window down. So that's with the valves off, and this is with the valves on. That's enough, so put it into gear and off we go. So from first impressions, this car is, well, the steering in this car to me I think feels slightly lighter. Gear throws are a little notchy, but we're not talking majorly. It is still manageable, and the biting point is very easy to find. And at least in this convertible car with the roof up, the car doesn't feel too rattly. Even the gear selector doesn't vibrate. At a red light, so into neutral. Even though this is a manual, this car still has stop start. Green light, it's an uphill. Yep, managed to save it. Not the smoothest second gear clutch lift, but that's my fault. All the other gears are perfectly fine. Traffic. And overall, driving with a manual F-Type isn't too bad. Maybe first and second gear can be a bit tricky. You really have to lift off the clutch slowly for second gear to prevent it from lurching. Visibility in this convertible with the roof up is a little compromised, especially 3/4. Not that it's amazing in coupe either. And luckily, because this car has 6 gears, you can choose to have the car rev very low. So at 40, this car was only revving at 1200 RPM. Oh, there's another Jaguar there. So stop, it's not too bad. Like I said, I did say the gear selector is a bit notchy, but only a bit. Turning right. Yep, that's the lurchy second gear lift off again. Into Barton Street. I mean, this car is heavily modified, but luckily these mods aren't at the expense of ride comfort, unless they're coming from an XK. And I drive down this road a lot in my personal car, so the difference between this and mine is negligible. Again, I don't really need to comment about how this car drives here because I'm only reviewing this car for this gearbox. So yeah, let's just skip this part and catch you on the other side. Quick update, this car can just about tolerate the 20 zones in 6th gear. But if you want to play it safe, 5th gear is best for 20-mile-an-hour zones. Yep, very lurchy on first and second once again. That's probably the only disadvantage with driving the manual F-Type. And in the case of reverse, you have to really push it to the left, like a BMW, which is kind of strange because I've driven a Discovery Sport with the same gear selector, but on that one you get a ring to lift up for reverse. Entering the city centre now. Nothing much to report. The city's absolutely empty today. Feels like I'm in a ghost town. And because there's so many buildings on each side of the road, the sound of the exhaust really echoes. City centre driving, this car is tolerable when it's empty, but I'm sure it will start to be a bit cumbersome during rush hour. And if I had to be a bit pedantic, it could do with a short shifter. There's quite a lot of travel from 3rd to 4th and 5th to 6th. Sharp left, no body rolls at all, and because I've got the performance seats, shoulders were perfectly supported as well. So One last thing to check, see what it's like in the open road. The gear gator, the materials feels a bit cheap vinyl. Considering the seats are Windsor leather, as Jaguar would say, or Napa leather, I wish they could have put Napa leather here on the gator as well. But again, that's a very minor disadvantage. Probably a slightly bigger complaint is that this manual car, the entire center console bezel is in black piano, and obviously having to change gears, that means my hand is in this region. So maybe if they ditched the black piano and made it match the upper trims like these, it would have looked a little bit nicer and less prone to scratches. Now normally I would flick a switch to turn it into dynamic mode, but in this manual car you press a button between the convertible roof and parking brake. Whilst it does do its job, it does lack some theatre that the automatic cars have, where you can just flick a switch and you're in dynamic mode. So you just press the button, and because it's a manual car, I don't have to shift it into sport mode. Okay, approaching the national speed limit now. I think we got a stretch now, so shift down. And of course, being a manual, there's no kick down. And is it fun? Yes, definitely fun to drive, but would I say is it more fun to drive than the auto? Maybe slightly. Got to be a bit gentle here. This is a rear-wheel drive example. Okay. The exhaust does sound theatrical. Let me just quickly put it into top gear. Due to the car only having 6 gears as opposed to 8, this car at 70 revs at just under 2,500 RPM, so it is slightly noisier than the 8-speed automatic counterpart, but this is really pedantic. So let's drop back a bit, go down a couple of gears. That exhaust sound is absolutely addictive, and because it's a convertible, that means one thing. Oh yeah, that's a bit of an inconvenience. I have to let go midway to change gear. Obviously that's only an issue with the convertible models. Coupes obviously don't have to worry about that. Luckily the wind deflector is still on. So back into the dual carriageway, shift down, 3, 2, 1 and floor it. And that's the speed limit. Once you're really at it, yeah, the manual is an absolute joy to use. Trouble is, you hit 70 at 4th, and whilst it does feel great with the roof down at this speed, I'm guessing you can tell by camera my hair's all over the place. So yeah, let's head back to the car park and finalise this video. So here is the verdict. Yes, the manual F-Type is more fun to drive, but not by much. Probably an extra 10 or 15% more. So in the real world at least, I still recommend the auto to most people most of the time. However, due to their rarity, I can still see these being desirable in the near future, probably potentially holding their value or even gaining value. So if you do find one, maybe it is worth buying it. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching me try out this manual V6 F-Type. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you are new, ring the bell to stay up to speed, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers!